embrace the adversity in your life as an opportunity to grow, it can become a huge negative in your life. And so she's going to kind of speak to some of that adversity that we've experienced in our story real quick. So.
Thanks. Like Michael said, this is probably our favorite quote. We have it in a frame in our office. We do share an office, and it's also on a wall of one of our classrooms, and you're going to get a little glimpse into our school in a minute. But I want to tell you our story and how we came to be co-directors, because it was not a big grand master plan our superintendent had. About 6 years ago, I came to Oregon Davis High School, and they were exploring the new tech model, and they hired me as their business teacher. And I was one of the founding teachers at Oregon Davis. My second year there, I became the advocate. I was from Plymouth, which was about 10 miles away, where my family was from, and my sons go to school. And my superintendent came to me after a few years at Oregon Davis and said, what is it going to take for you to come to Plymouth and help us start New Tech in Plymouth? So I came, kind of did some negotiations with him to pull me away, because I really enjoyed my time at Oregon Davis. I came over to Plymouth. I was part-time facilitator, and also my official title was Director of Professional Development. So I worked with the director, and the first year I was there, we planned for implementation. My second year there, we implemented. Michael and I were two of the founding teachers. We had two other full-time founding teachers and another half-time, and a director. About 2 weeks before the end of school, a year ago May, our director resigned immediately. And our superintendent sat down with our very small staff of 5 plus an administrative assistant and a guidance counselor and said, what are we going to do? And our staff humbled both of us by saying, we would like Michael and Jen to lead us. So the next day, literally within 24 hours, all of a sudden, Michael and I had to figure out how are we going to teach for the last 2 weeks of school, and how are we going to manage kids, plan for a new class of 100 kids coming in. We had just moved into a new space. You know, we were getting technology in there, supplies in there. Just within a day, everything changed. So we were very humbled. We were very excited, but we weren't administrators. We didn't have administrative licenses. Michael was finishing his master's. So last summer was a big working summer for us. We didn't take a lot of time off. Anyhow, fast forward a whole year. The co-directorship was, we felt at the beginning, a temporary fix. But by October, our school board was very happy with what was going on in our school, and they extended our contract by 3 years. So we both started an administrative program in January online, and we'll be done with that in April. We have temporary admin licenses right now. We're now part of the corporation admin team, the high school admin team, or a school within a school. Next year, or I should say this year, Michael still taught math. He taught algebra, and if you're in Indiana, you know that's an ECA, so he had the pressure of teaching algebra, co-directing. He's been the head boys tennis coach for 15 years. And I taught part-time. I'm the PBL coach for our district extension market, our junior high, so we had a lot going on. So we were very passionate about our school, and we worked a ton of hours this year, and we're going to share some of our successes. So that's a little bit of our background. I knew Michael as a community member. He was my son's tennis coach. That was pretty much before we taught together, the extent of our relationship. So obviously, to be able to lead together, we're going to talk a little bit about what we had to do personally for it to work, because I'm sure you have questions like, how does this work? So that gives you a little bit of an opportunity to understand why that quote is so meaningful to us, because we were presented with some adversity, and we looked at it as an opportunity for our school and all our kids. I want to show you a really quick video, I believe, of our school. This was our ribbon cutting. We had a new space that we opened last November. Some of our students are in there.
We are a school within a school. In our second year, we just finished our second year of phasing in, so we just have 10th grade, 9th grade, 10th grade,
I meant to ask, I don't know if Michael asked, how many people in here are current administrators? Okay, so, and how many people are in here are teachers, facilitators? Okay, all right. This is a really short video, but it gives you a little glimpse.
The Weidner School of Inquiry is much more than a new learning space. It's a dynamic, collaborative environment where our learners have the opportunity to not only discover and make connections, but pursue their interests and passions and drive their own learning. The foundation has been laid for an amazing way to educate young people. We have an unparalleled learning space. We have a great mix of talented and dedicated facilitators who care very deeply for young people and their education. With hard work, purposeful collaboration, and constant communication, we hope that our small learning community at PHS will become a special place for all members, community, staff, facilitators, and learners, to learn and grow together. Space is very, very good, and she's going to talk about the next part of it. We're blessed in a lot of ways, but we also stumbled into this role, and we think we have something very powerful, so we're going to get into that. We're doing this, so be patient with us.
Has anyone seen this TED Talk? Simon, the why, okay, so we're all really familiar with it. The Golden Circle. Is there anyone not familiar with that TED Talk? Okay, great. So again, last May, within a day, our roles had drastically changed. We had new staff that was coming on board, new staff from within our high school, new staff that was hired, that weren't even part of the hiring process. And we thought, okay, we really want a strong staff culture and student culture. And we decided our focus has to be on that strong staff culture because nothing else is going to work if you don't have that, right? So our very first meeting, we called all our staff, all our new staff for the next year, and we talked about and showed them this TED Talk. And I won't go into it since you're all familiar with the why, the what, and the how, but we decided we really need to figure out what is going to be our why, what is going to be our collective purpose. Michael and I had a great idea of what our collective purpose was as co-directors, but to have that staff buy-in and to be able to succeed, we needed to have the whole staff on board. So we started that initial dialogue and discussion that hadn't occurred the last 2 years of planning or implementing that first year. So that was one of the big shifts that we had, that we believed. We almost put mixed doubles on here. Why should you have a doubles team league your school? Well, I was a high school and college tennis player, and ironically, well, Michael played college basketball, but he played high school tennis as well. So that's something that we had in common outside of our leading. And we almost put mixed, but we don't want you to think that you should only have a male and female co-directing, although we think that that has some great advantages, and we'll talk about those later. So why should you have a team lead your school? We believe that great teamwork and great collaboration produces greater results. And we're going to talk to you about the results we had. And we do believe it's from having 2 people leading.
So we're using Simon's gold circle to kind of do that. There was the why of why we're here today. Now we're going to the how. We encourage the breakdown of silos. How many have heard that phrase before? No? Okay. Silos in this case, for a lot of us, as a traditional teacher for 14 years, I had great math department members. I knew them well, but I saw them for 5 minutes in passing period, and we talked and joked, and maybe 20 minutes before school or prep or whatever, but the level of collaboration, I never, ever in 14 years stepped in and observed another teacher in my department. And I love connecting with people. I love that part of it, but I just never experienced that. I wasn't encouraged. And so in our case, if you've seen a silo, farm silo, you've got this big, huge structure of a lot of great things going on, but no one's anything in each other's classroom other than the kids. And so there's no practices in place, or there are very few practices in place that were, hey, here's how I think you can be even better, or here's how I think I can help. And so we're trying to break down silo, and NTAC helps you do that, obviously. And how many have at least one integrated course in their school where they have team teachers, or I'm not going to try to sway anybody, but man, there's power in that. Like, there's a ton of power, and sometimes you might get a bad team connection you got to deal with, but for the most part, you bring two people together that care and are passionate about kids. It's a unique and powerful situation that I've never experienced until 2 years ago. And in some ways, we're addicted to it. We're like, how do we get more of that? All right? And so we want to break down those silos. And we got in the middle of this year, and we realized you saw some of the glass into our rooms, and you can see in. It's very transparent. We love that. But some of that, we realized was still becoming silo-ish. Even though we had two people in there, we still weren't getting into each other's classrooms. So that's kind of the next challenge, is how do we break that down even more? And we'll talk about different types of teams here in just a second. The other parts of the how today are improving connection and collaborative practices will improve learning. It kind of goes back to the why. And then distributed leadership. We are on the CRA track now this year. We are just looking for ways to integrate all of our facilitators into the leadership model. Last year we asked for volunteers, and about half of our staff stood up and said, I'll be on that leadership team. And that's a great place to start, rather than, but those are the people that, hey, how do we get better? What are the places that you're hearing that we need to improve? So we're very, very, that distributive leadership plus our co-leadership is kind of a distributive leadership model, improves organizational health. And I'll get into something I started reading here not too long ago, but what does your team look like? Can anybody tell me what a golf team looks like? Golf team looks like. You have the people in your state or whatever. Golf team? Okay, how's that? And some people don't even know what a golf team looks like. So how many people are on a golf team? Do you know, like in your state? Like, it's okay if you don't. For us, it's 5. I think there's more than that. When you go for a golf team, there's 5 guys, right? And they go and they play around with the opponent, and they come back and we put that score together, and very little collaboration, very little. There might be a reflection at the end. And then we look at the basketball team model and how that is different. Anybody Spurs fan out there? Love the Spurs. Okay. I debated whether I had the dream team up there at first in the 1990s when I played, kind of. But the Spurs impressed me of how interchangeable they are, and how together they are, and how unselfish they are. And so, what does your team look like? Is my question to you, kind of in a reflective mode, and then I'm going to have you specifically. But right now, as you're thinking, what does your team look like? Do you have a lot of silos? And if so, can we start breaking some of those down? Because we can get it to where there's more organic collaboration and partnerships, it's going to be better for teams, or better for kids, and better for the learning. So, a book I'm reading, anybody familiar with Patrick Lencioni out there? Anybody done his reading? What books have you read from Patrick? 5 Dysfunctions, maybe? Yeah? Anybody else? Really, really good stuff. And this is where I got that analogy. I just read it here recently. A good way to understand a working group, because his premise was that a team is used very vaguely and probably inappropriately a lot of times. We have a team of leaders, And so he said a good way to understand a working group is to think of it like a golf team, where players go off and play their own, and then get together and add up their scores at the end of the day. A real team is more like a basketball team, one that plays together simultaneously in an interactive, mutually dependent, and interchangeable way. Yes, you have roles on there, but very quickly, the point guard could be guarding the center. Or each guy has got to go rebound the ball when the ball goes up for a shot. These are things that, in my mind, if you can kind of develop those, and you use a doubles kind of analogy, you're playing on a doubles team. I've taught tennis for a while. You've got to break down that, hey, this isn't my side and your side. This is our court. And at times, you're going to have to go over on that side, and you've got to talk and communicate and do those things. So that's kind of, again, the how, if you will.
So what is if you want to get promoted, can you get promoted together?
That's a good question.
I like that question. Oh, we'll have some Q&A at the end. Maybe we'll have to. Yeah, well, there you go. How do you like that, Michael? Did you hear that? He wants to be done after the admin license. I don't think he wants to go to school for the superintendent's license, but I might be able to talk him into it. We're in the same cohort.
The rising of the ladder. I would argue right now, we didn't plan to do this anyway.
Yeah.
So it's not like I had aspirations to be a principal. I know some people I want to go do that. Like it happened for us. I don't really have any aspirations. I'm not going to speak for him, but I don't have any aspirations in this moment. I love what I'm doing too much to kind of bust that team up. Like I know I am weak in a lot of ways, and she fills those weaknesses, and together we're better than we would be without each other. So, and that's really, really powerful. So,
yeah, I'm going to talk a little bit about how we do divide up our roles and responsibilities. But like what Michael said, the main thing that kind of bonds us is we're very like-minded about our kids, about our staff, about what we believe is best educationally, and we both are very servant-minded in that our job is a passion, right? It is not a job, it is a passion. So, a lot of people are like, how do you guys make that work? One of our assistant superintendents said to us a few weeks ago at an admin meeting, he's been having to work a lot with another assistant superintendent, male, female, and he looked at us and he said, Michael and Jen, I don't know how you do it, because they had some bad times and they were not getting along, publicly even. We share an office, and we're the only ones in the whole corporation that do, and when our superintendent, who frequented our office a lot to talk to us last summer, he said, you know what, I like how you guys are working together. We're going to do this with all the superintendents. We have one superintendent, 2 assistants, and the 2 assistants said, thanks a lot, you guys. Because now the 3 of them all share an office, and Mike and I are like, yeah, it works great for us. We're not so sure if it'll work great for everyone, but that is really powerful. We have had struggles. We have had conflicts, but we are very close as far as leadership team, and the reason why we can persist through those struggles and conflict is because if you've read 5 Dysfunctions, we trust each other. We've been vulnerable. We've shared fears, concerns. That's a big part of our success, is our ability to do that, because as we grow, we have to divide and conquer. And when you say, how do you advance, we're very encouraging of what is best for one another. So, and when you talk about growth, we both believe we've helped each other grow more than if we were doing this alone. So that's a big thing. But we'll talk a little bit about roles and responsibilities. Our superintendent, who we report directly to, we don't report to our high school principal, we report directly to our superintendent, wanted to make sure the evaluator role was separate from the coaching role. So Michael is our evaluator, I am our coach. Now, do we discuss what's going on in the classrooms? Absolutely. But we have that separation, and we think that's important for our facilitators. I still observe for the purpose of providing feedback and the coaching role. Michael does that too, but he sits down and he has those evaluation conversations. And this was his first year. He was still in the classroom, co-directing, evaluating. So it was a real challenge for him this year, and he didn't receive a lot of training on that.
Are you present in those conversations?
Yeah.
Are you present?
Yes, the evaluation conversations, no. No, I am not, just to kind of have that. Some facilitators would say, I don't care if Jen's in here. Now, we'll talk a little bit more about when we have conversations together with facilitators, but they're not in the evaluation conferences. I stay out of those. So, discipline, that was another big thing. Michael is our primary discipliner, and I'm our secondary, but one of the great unique roles or things that we do is we have a male and we have a female. So I may have females that just need to talk to a female, and we may have males that just want to talk to a male, and we've seen that this year. Another great thing about having a male and a female, and we'll talk a little bit in a minute, is we will be co-teaching a leadership course. We felt it was important to still be in the classroom, because when it comes to discipline, we can have those tough conversations with kids. We had every single one of our first year, our kids that are going to be juniors, when they were freshmen, we each had them in class. So this year when we had to have discipline, and Michael had a lot more tough conversations than I had, because we had a lot more boys getting in trouble, we had built that relationship. And they weren't going to our guidance counselor, they were coming to one of us. I don't know, do you want to touch on discipline at all?
It is inspired to be this. I don't know how some of you do this as effectively as you could, because it's so hard to discipline someone in love, like caring about them without having a relationship. How do you build that trust when all you do is see them walk in your door after they're pissed off because the teacher got, it's just tough. Not some of you have those skills and you're very good at kind of building that relationship, but for me, I saw the advantage of it's kind of like that aha moment of like, I know this kid, he knows me, and we build a relationship, so I can call his bluff, and he can come down that kind of, that moment of I'm going to be honest with you because I trust you that you're going to do my best for me, what is best, and so we have those conversations. But it was one of those moments like, I really don't know how you do that really well without teaching the class and building, or somehow building that relationship, being purposeful and connecting with every kid. And that's again an advantage of New Tech in that there's only 100, and when I say only 100, ours is bigger than that, so 100's a lot, but if you can have all the kids in a course of some kind, we think there's power in us to leading that course, and that's a big part of that, is the relationships we can build with those kids.
This year it's going to take 2 periods. We're co-teaching it, so we're modeling co-facilitation. It's going to take 2 out of 15 periods. So we feel that time is going to be worth it. This year with our freshmen, because Michael was co-directing, he wasn't able to have all those kids as students in math. So about half our next year's sophomores he didn't have. So he's going to have to work on, I had them, he did not. So he's going to have to work on, and he's built relationships with a lot, but it's just not the same as having them in the classroom. And I know I know this is going a lot faster than we thought it would, so I'm not going to, this is all in echo. I just want to mention, one of the things we had to learn about each other is where were our strengths. And if you've ever done compass points, that's something to do with our staff. How many people are familiar with compass points? North, south, east? Okay. Some of you. The resources in our briefcase. Michael's a south, and I'm a west. I'm a west, so he knows. Yeah. Okay, and I love that he's a south because he does communicate with love with everyone, students, staff. But I am obsessed with planning and details and all the nitty-gritty stuff. And I've become more southerly, he's become more westernly, which is a good thing. But, he was perfecting this presentation 10 minutes before we started, and I would have had it done 3 weeks ago. So, but again, we fill in those gaps. That's why you can see a lot of the administrative stuff like budget, leave forms, all that nitty gritty. He doesn't want anything to do with that. So I handle all that. But Michael's a great visionary, a great communicator, and he handles a lot of that. So I'm going to kind of keep going with that. We both lead professional development. It depends what it is. Thank you, Haley. You're advancing me, aren't you? So we just want to kind of highlight the different forms of collaboration that we have inside our school. So obviously we have leader to leader, leader to staff, staff to staff. And then we have some unique we believe are some unique collaborations. We have a leadership council, which are some of our facilitators who volunteered to kind of be a smaller group that vets decisions. We also have a legacy board and advisory board, which is comprised of our students. And I won't go into great detail what those boards are, but they help us connect with our community. They help advise structural changes. It's a way for our kids to have a voice in their school. And then we also have what we call a vision caster cadre, which are student representatives who talk to community members when they come in for tours, when they come in for visits. So we just have a lot of collaboration going on inside.
We're my favorite kids, we're picking kids to do when other people come in and kind of see what was going on in our school, and we wanted them to have that. We had a growing dissension that we didn't know about till one lady, sophomores like that, you're a freshman, or even when we picked the sophomore, you picked the same, it's like, you're right. Like, not that we were intentionally, but we trusted some of the kids that we had kind of taught to do that, and so we came up with that, and we let them sign up, and there's going to be a form. I mean, if they're proud of their school and want to be part of that, you got to find a way to let all the kids be part of that, and train them, so be part of that, and train them. So
That's how comfortable our kids are. Our office is surrounded by glass. A lot of them don't knock. They just come right in, plop their butts down next to us and say, we're mad, we need to talk to you. I mean, how many kids go into a principal's office and they say, you're not principals, you're just, Mr. Delp and Mrs. Felke. They don't even think of us as principals, so it's kind of funny. How many people have seen this Jim May quote or heard him say it? The adult culture and performance of the school will function as the ceiling for the student culture and performance. Has anyone seen that? Yeah? Okay. So that really resonated with us. And so, again, I'm not going to go through everything, but these are some unique things that we do with our staff, and then we did it with our students. Our only focus last summer, am I still on my slide?
Yep.
Okay. Our only focus last summer when we became co-directors was we wanted a strong staff culture, because we knew if we did that, everything else would fall into place. And luckily, it did, it worked. That's not to say we aren't constantly working on that culture, but there's links again in our Echo briefcase of these different things that we've done. Michael and I know each other's Myers-Briggs personality like the back of our hand, and it has helped us not be frustrated with each other like we normally would. So, or they have the same Myers-Briggs.
Yeah. We just want to play a quick video. We've had a lot of successes.
We just want to play a quick video. We've had a lot of successes. We believe because of the work we've done. Yes, you're right. It's linked.
It's good. We love it. And I think
Yeah,
it's a
you
great
can
idea
see this if you watch it. These were our kids at the end of the year. Our prompt was "This Year I," and
Such a simple
you can get in
way
there
to
and
do a
see it.
reflective thing, put on Facebook, and that's another thing was, can you get a little idea? So I don't want to diminish that, but we got 10 minutes left.
Yeah.
We want to make sure we hit questions.
And
It's 5 minutes long.
just-
and so
Real quick, and we'll keep going. We just got approved for demo site. We're a exemplary school finalist with a partnership for 21st Century that came and visited us in May. We're waiting on word of that. And this year we had higher attendance, PSAT, and all our ECA scores were higher than our traditional schools. So those were the big successes that they're not the ones we consider big, but they're the ones our superintendent likes to see because he can highlight those. So.
the ones we love are the ones like the reflection we see from the kids. And again, it's in there. So if we don't have any questions, we'll show it kind of on the way out. Because again, for me, when I say these sessions, I always try to latch on to one or two that's really good. I want to make sure we use them. Like that reflection that you saw, the video is so simple. You just come up with a prompt, have the kids write down what it is that they're reflecting, what was the one they just passion.
Oh, I'm passionate about
So
yesterday.
we thought about using that next year. A lot of parents commented, and it was one of those things where I'm like, hey, next time we got a video, and it was something we thought of at the very end of the year, and we've done at a conference. And so that's a really good one that puts some music to it, and we'll show it if we need to. But we want to make sure we hit your need to knows. We We didn't do it in a true NTAC fashion. We thought about doing that. Any need-to-knows, questions that you're just like, all right, is this possible? Is it? I realize not everybody's going to jump on board, but I'm telling you, go back to your moment when you thought, man, co-facilitation, it's awesome. And I'm just, we both feel like, you know what, co-leadership is possible, and for a lot of the same reasons, there's just a lot of good things that can happen from that. So, what need-to-knows do you have? Kind of shout them out, or questions that came up in your mind?
When making a decision between the two of you, how do y'all handle that? Especially if you disagree, you have two different points of view of it.
Okay. I listen to what she says, and then we don't. Because she's way more talented than no. You know, we are very, very like-minded. We have complementary strengths. And a lot of stuff we shared, or TED Talks that we're watching while we work out, or things like that. And we just, sometimes we'll even share the same one. Hey, I just read that. You're kidding me. I just read that same one. You know, like, and so I'm trying to think of a decision where we disagree. There's a few times where we defer to the other one. We just kind of, it's not like there is a hierarchy there. There's times where she's deferred to me and said, you know what, I'm not real sure. I trust you to kind of make that decision, and I feel very comfortable doing the same thing. So I know we've done that. So.
I think when we defer, it's because we trust the other, and then we just say, if that's the decision, we're going with it.
There won't be any kind of moment where you see, it's your fault. You know, like that won't happen. And I know that won't be the case because.
And what's unique is, like what Michael talked about, there are principals, assistant principals, and within our own large admin team, we see conflict. Like, everyone knows if you tell me something, he's going to know it, and vice versa. Like, we are very, very unified, and they know it. I mean, I've been in a situation with the former director and me, and it was not, and we're very unified.
And I don't know if that was built with trust of early on. I think everybody started realizing, hey, you send us one email, you know, of any kind of importance, it's going to be shared with the other person, because there's not going to be the secrets of breaking that trust in that way. And it's like any partnership, or you know, if there's even a hint of it, we'll bring it up to each other. But it's been very rare, and it's quickly like that's why we trust each other so much, because there hasn't been any of those moments of that's.
Well, and if I could say something complimentary about Michael, at the end of the summer, I think there was chatter about having Michael be director. And he said, I won't do it without Jen and I as co-directors. You know, and I think we both said we won't do it. If you want us to do it, we're doing it together. And we've been pretty firm about that. And Michael was very supportive of me because I had come over with some prior knowledge, and he had been at the school corporation a lot longer, but he was very supportive of that and making sure that we were co. So.
I guess I'm not smart. I was smart enough to know that I'm not capable of tackling that, and nor from this point on will I ever look at it. You know, like I see too much value in what we do. So when you say move up, like I like to make more money, and like part of it was we still are on a teacher salary basically. You know, I mean we accepted that to be co-directors. We like to get paid admin. You know, there's been a few perks along the way, but for the most part, we're not making as much as everybody else because we chose to be co-directors, and that's okay. Because I just don't want to tackle a job like that without a partner. I think there's too much benefit to it.
Are there any more administrators in play here? I guess, especially thinking as you grow, you get bigger, are there going to be any other administrators?
Within our school, we sincerely doubt it. We will eventually house 1/3 of our high schools. So you have 2 of us with about 400 kids, and then there's 3 administrators with the other 800. So numbers-wise, yeah. And we have a lot of responsibility even outside our school, our school within a school. We're helping do some changes at the whole high school. So.
Grassroots part of what we've done is starting to spread in our asking, so which is good. But I think we feel like we can handle the 400 at least, and especially with a team outside, you know, and within the school, you know, there is an team. So, anything else? All right. Thank you so much for coming out.
Should we play that as they go out, or?
We can watch a few, but we really, really